learn the Handel's Messiah. I challenge you, to pick up a piano, to pick up a violin. I challenge you to not accept the life that's been given to you. Just because somebody gave you that life, that does not have to become your reality. I challenge you to go outside of your immediate environment, and I challenge you to explore. I challenge you to discover. I challenge you to learn a second language. I challenge you to watch PBS, NPR radio. Like, I challenge you to get out of just that world that you've been given. I challenge you to read books, to learn the history of this company. Like, I challenge you to be bigger, bolder, and better 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And some of the people that we admire are people who have been exposed to things that other people haven't been exposed to. I think what people get confused is, they're grinding with a goal. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have goals, but you should be grinding for grinding's sake. You should grind because that's what you do. You're passionate about what you do, and so you're waking up every day with this concept of, I have 24 hours. And they're mine. This 24 hours belongs to me. Right. And whatever I do in this 24 hours will determine where I'll be tomorrow and the next day. And I think that's what people need to focus on. Like, get off of this, I want to make 6 figures. I want to drive this car. I want to live in this house. I think what people should be focusing on is, I have 24 hours. Like, Oprah only has 24. Bill Gates only has 24. Like, Warren Buffett only has 24 hours. And in that 24-hour period, I can either break my life or make my life. I just think that goals for people is too high on the priority list. And I think what should be on the priority list is going to bed so you can wake up the next day and you can grind it out. And I'm just a dude that believes you reap what you sow. So if you're grinding on Monday, grinding on Tuesday, grinding on Wednesday, if you're grinding 6-7 days a week, for a span of 5 or 6 years, something's got to come out of that.
Sure. And what I found is that instead of trying to live a successful life, if you aim to have a successful day, 12, if you have 13 out of the 24 hours of your day, if you won those hours, you won the day. And if you win most of the days in a week, you won the week. We just need a simple majority here, right? If you win, most of the weeks in a month, there you go. Most of the months in a year, most of the years in a life. And all of a sudden, look at that. Without even trying, you've been able to kind of get somewhere.
People misunderstand money. Okay, just like fundamentally. And it's actually not money, they misunderstand themselves. They misunderstand what they actually want. What people want is fulfillment. What people want is to feel good. And they think that, wow, if I had, and here's the truth. What they know is when they buy something, it does feel good. Right. And they know, if I could buy my mom a house, like, that would feel good. If I could buy her a big house, a fancy car, make me feel good. And it is all 100% true. Buying a fancy car will make you feel good. Buying a big house will make you feel good. But it makes you feel good the way a bowl of ice cream makes you feel good. It's momentary happiness. It's transient. It will go away. The hedonic reset point. So you buy the big house, and all of a sudden, that's normal, baby. And so you really have to stop and, like, A, remind yourself to be grateful for that, but B, recognize that all the things you thought money was going to bring you, it brings you something completely different. And if you want fulfillment is about being something, becoming something. It's born of suffering. It is not born of having a cool car, because you want a cool car because of the way you want other people to look at you.
Right, and the way that will make you feel when you think that they look at you like that.
Exactly. So it's tenuous at best. And it hinges entirely on them actually looking at you that way. So now you're somebody else's pawn, because they can turn on you at any minute. So that's never going to bring you lasting fulfillment. It's not stable. It doesn't make you feel strong and rooted. But becoming somebody, setting your sights on gaining certain skill sets, of feeling a certain way, of being calm, being, full of gratitude, like all the things from a neurochemical standpoint that we read as good, like money can't touch those things. So working on what I call framework happiness is the key to all that stuff, and money can't give you framework happiness.
I made the decision, it's the most important decision I believe of your life, that I'm not going to suffer anymore. Life's too short to suffer, and I'm going to live in a beautiful state every day. And the way I do it is, I catch myself when I start to get that sense of stress, I let it go, and I see the idea go by. So your thoughts about this person messing up your business or not following through. If I was in a room with 10,000 people, I guarantee you 60, 70% of the business owners have the same thoughts at times, right? I ask people all the time, tell me your most stressful thought. Oh, I'm worried about my children, this may happen. How many people have had that thought? Everybody. I might not make it financially, blah, blah, blah. How many have had that? Everybody. My point is, it's not your thought. It's the mind, not your mind. When you think it's your mind, you identify with it, and you can't separate from yourself.
Right.
But when you realize these thoughts have been around for millions of years, and I'm just thinking the same thought that so many people thought before. Like, how many people have ever thought, I'm gonna kill this son of a bitch? Now, you didn't do it because you didn't believe you're really gonna kill them, but you felt it, you said it, you were there, right? So we all have thoughts. It's only the stressful thoughts we believe that mess us up. So what I try to show people is, if you can start to realize these thoughts have been around for millions of years. So what I want you to realize is thoughts are invisible waves. When you turn on TV, it takes invisible waves, and depending on the channel, you're gonna see a love story, or an adventure, or a drama, or a comedy, or a horror. The way you use your body determines which of those thought waves come through you. One moment you're pissed off, the next moment somebody makes you laugh. You change your body, you change the channel, you change what comes through you. So what I've tried to do in this Airy Beautiful State is simple. First, identify where you're suffering. What's your favorite flavor? Are you a worrier? Are you a pissed off person?
Stressed, angry.
What is it you do?
Yeah.
Second of all, decide you're gonna kill that monster while it's little. You're not gonna wait until it's Godzilla taking the city. You're gonna break the pattern. You start to feel the stress, you see it as thoughts going by, and then you focus on something you appreciate, enjoy, or love. Appreciation, love, and joy destroy suffering. You can't be grateful and angry simultaneously. It's possible. You can't be worried, fearful, and grateful simultaneously. So I tell people gratitude is one of the emotions to cultivate that'll destroy the suffering. And that's what we teach people to do.
If you're not trying to get out of your shitty situation, and every day you're choosing to stay in it, and you can't complain about being given the choice you keep making. You know, one of my favorite quotes is, change happens when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of making a change. And I really do believe that. So when I hear people complain, I'm knowing they're not changing it, I think maybe it's not hurting them enough for them to fight to get out. Complaining causes negativity, which causes you to complain, which causes negativity. And there are a few actionable things you can do to immediately stop this negative cycle and to break out of it. And the first one is actually just changing your perception. You know, if you can't change it, then at least change the way you think about it. Someone said, the brain doesn't just observe the world, it projects a second story over everything we see. That story is our perception. We can complain rose bushes have thorns, or we can rejoice that thorn bushes have roses. Perception defines everyone's reality. The second thing is about your internal locus of control. Take responsibility. If you don't take responsibility, then you're choosing to be a victim of circumstance. And this victim mindset dilutes human potential, it kills action, and by not accepting personal responsibility for your own circumstances, you're greatly reducing the power you have to change it. And there are two primary choices we all make in life. It is to accept conditions as they are, or to accept the responsibility for changing them. Please choose the latter. And the last one, which is the most important of all, is making a change. Einstein said, as we all know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. And for every action, we have a reaction. If you want a new reaction, you must perform a new action. I found in my life that change starts with a big decision and a tiny step. Today, right now, yesterday was the time to make that decision. It's time to take that step.
Henry Ford said it best in that book, Think and Grow Rich. You probably read it. He said, successful people make decisions quickly and that are slow to change their mind. Unsuccessful people hardly ever make up their mind, and when they do, they're constantly changing it back and forth, wishy-washy, like, do I want this, do I want that? They have so much indecision. Indecision is what kills confidence. And here's the thing, success, the ability to make great decisions in your life, comes from experience. And your experience usually comes from bad judgment. So it's not about making the right decision. Leaders, successful people don't always make the right decision, but they always make the decision right. That is, no matter what happens, they go for it, and then they know they're gonna figure it out in the end because they're clear about their outcome. But you gotta take decisions. You can't be paralyzed by fear and say, oh, what am I gonna do? So the first decision is what to focus on. Right now, as you're sitting there, you're probably on Facebook, on YouTube, something like that. You could be focused on this video. You could be focused on your iPhone. You could be focused on something that happened a year ago. You could be something that's gonna happen in the future. But like they say in that book, Eckhart Tolle says in The Power of Now, that your life is happening now. You're most powerful when you are operating in the now. Some people are trying to change things that happened in the past. They feel if that hadn't happened, or if she hadn't said that, or if I had done that before, I didn't mess up before. And their energy, their focus, even though they're talking to you, they're locked in your eyes right there, there's a part of them energetically that is focused on something in the past. Does that make sense? Their energy, their focus, every time anything bad happens, they're like, well, if this hadn't happened before, their mind always goes there, is that they have a pattern, a habit of focus. And so the most powerful thing you can do is be focused in the moment, because this is where your life happens. And if you're trying to control things that are in the future or even in the past, you set yourself up for disappointment, because you can't change the past, and you can influence the future, but you can't change the future. You know, there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of things. Some people have a big impact on the world, but hey, there's times things are gonna happen, so you don't really know, but you still have to make decisions with absolute certainty. You have to have a vision within yourself. So the first decision you need to make every single day is, what are you gonna focus on? What are you gonna give your time and your attention to? That's decision number one.
Every second you spend thinking about what somebody else has is taking away from time that you could create something for yourself.
Yeah.
You're losing. You're losing because you're laying in your bed looking at somebody's fucking glamorous photoshopped picture of them doing something cool, and you're envious and you're jealous and you're impatient, and it's crippling your upside. You've got to deploy patience, and you've got to love the process. I'm addicted to the process of the battle scars, the setbacks. Macro patience, micro speed.
Life breaks everyone, and some are stronger in the places that broke.
We are going to go through trauma, but trauma is an opportunity to change and to reorganize the elements that made up your life. When a person's mind is traumatized, it's like the story that they were telling themselves has ceased to be persuasive, right? And when a story stops being persuasive, it is disorienting, and that, I think, is what trauma is. The period between when your old story breaks apart because of this last straw on the camel's back thing. I mean, we're gonna continue to tell ourselves the old stories until it's so glaringly contradictory that it doesn't hold up. So trauma is the period between when that breaks down and when you, from the pieces of the old, build something new. And we'll never glorify the trauma itself, but recognize that in that period, you have a very unique opportunity that will only come along a handful of times in your life to reorganize the story that you tell about yourself to yourself.
Reticular activation system and our ability to rationalize our behavior is so pervasive and so powerful that our brains will rationalize almost anything that it thinks is in its best interest. So if a person gets to a point where they have become addicted to the laziness, what typically is going to happen is their reticular activation system is going to activate in such a way where they're going to justify the laziness. And what's really fucking psycho about this, and super fucking scary, this is scary shit to me, because I've seen this happen to friends of mine, is that they rationalize the laziness with a set of lies to themselves, or like half-truths. But then remember that any time that you lie to yourself, what happens as you build further beliefs on that foundation? More lies, more lies, more lies, more lies, and it becomes a web. Once the person has got addicted to that emotion of laziness, the emotion has entered into their body and it wants to self-perpetuate. So once that person gets in that emotion that they want to sustain it, they desperately want to sustain it, they will typically not come out of it. And actually, they become lost. They're lost now. Because what happens is that they fall too far off the path. And so there's been too much rationalization, too much lying to themselves about why they're doing it, that the only way, oh, and by the way, and this is further sustaining that addiction to the lazy emotions, the only way that they can come back is if they're forced out of it. Something forces them out of it, where it's just too painful to preserve the laziness and to preserve the lies that they would have to come out of it. And so, you know what's cool about hard work? It brings you back to reality again and again and again and again. Because when you take on projects and you have a purpose and you have passion about it, what happens is that you have these little lies and bullshits about how the world should be that you tell yourself, and then it doesn't work out, and you're confronted with reality. When you're actually trying to do shit, you're continually confronted with reality. You're out of this white ivory tower bullshit mind state.
Looking at everything almost like a skill set. Everything is a matter of practice. I mean, of course, are you going to be the next Kobe or the next Michael Jordan or the next Albert Einstein or the next Elon Musk? That there might be, of course, a degree of luck and talent, especially in sports, but still, you can become pretty damn good at a lot of things if you put in the effort, if you put in the hours of deliberate practice. I
mean, if other people are putting in 40-hour work weeks and you're putting in 100-hour work weeks, then even if you're doing the same thing, you know that in 1 year you will achieve what they achieve. You will achieve in 4 months what it takes them a year to achieve.
Going to be different for everyone, but we're all asking the same question. It's how do I live a more meaningful life? And part of that has to do with just changing our focus to figuring out what's important.
On the other side of your pain is something good.
Getting comfortable with fear. Understanding that you can overcome fear, you can overcome doubt, those things that hold you back. Courage is the thing that drives through anything that's going to be in your way and try to hold you back. Courage is the thing that should be the driving factor to get you through whatever that is. You know, growing your tolerance for risk and understanding that failure is part of that process. Mistakes are part of that process. If you're not making mistakes, you're not moving forward. So in order for you to have that kind of mindset, to learn, you gotta test different things. You gotta go, test and pivot, and things are gonna happen. Like, you need to have courage to try new things.
Work. That's the answer to all these questions.
Got it.
Learn things, do stuff, try to sell shit, learn how to make money, work.
All right, I will.
Was this good?